morning. Today I'm with Dustin Boydell. Dustin is an avid golfer. He's an adaptive golfer, and he is the BC representative for Paragolf Canada. Welcome, Dustin.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Can you tell me a bit about when you first started golfing?
So I started golfing when I was around 9 years old or so. My parents signed me up for like a spring break golf clinic, and from right then I knew it was the sport for me. I loved it. I had a natural ability for it, and it just connected with me on a different level than other sports did at that time.
Cool. So then, about 5 years ago, you had back surgery, which resulted in intensive rehabilitation, and golf played a part in that.
Yes. So 5 years ago, I had a staph infection that I was unaware of, that was present in my blood system, and it grew an abscess in a vertebrae in my spine, which then compressed my spinal cord and left me paralyzed from the waist down. I had to have emergency back surgery, and when I woke up, they actually told me I was never going to walk again, let alone play golf. So um, during the rehabilitation, I had more positive feedback from some physiotherapists and a lot of motivation and goals that we set for me. And once I got back on my feet and felt comfortable that maybe a golf swing could be possible, I asked if we could start integrating it into my rehabilitation. And it kind of just took off from there.
Awesome. And so do you see golf as rehabilitation or therapy for all kinds of people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's all sorts of benefits to, you know, a relatively low impact sport on the body that you can basically play until your dying days if you want to. Um, and so I think having that inclusivity and that social environment to kind of integrate back into society if you have a disability late in life, or even if you've had one your whole life and never really felt comfortable somewhere, having the ability to know adaptive golf is out there would be hugely beneficial for lots of people.
Right. And you were a golfer before, so you know the etiquette, and knew about golf, and you knew where you wanted to play, and about what ranges were close to you, what putting greens you could practice on. So what barriers did you have when you first tried to get out to a driving range or to a golf course?
One of the big things is there were no real major organizations. Well, they're all kind of split up, and there was no one really that had the guidance for me looking to get back into golf with steps for, like, if you're disabled, here's a facility that's accessible and is welcoming. There was, when you Googled accessible golf or paralyzed golf in Canada, there was no real web pages or anything. So one of it was not knowing where to go. Another was cost, knowing how expensive golf was. When you come out of disability, most people aren't working their previous job or have the same economic structure that they had prior to their injuries or their misfortune. So that's another big one, wondering what courses would be welcoming to give you a chance just to, get out once or twice or whatever.
Yeah.
So cost was a big issue as well. And then also just, wondering if you'd be welcome because you're different than, the regular golfer and the stereotypical golfer that we've come to know over the long history of golf.
Right. So how did you find Chilliwack Golf Club? Is that just the closest golf club to you that you approached, or did someone connect you with Chilliwack Golf Club? Because I know that's where you're a member at Chilliwack Golf Club now.
Yes. So a lot of how I actually got very motivated to get back in was through social media. And it really was from the first swing in physiotherapy, the first standing swing. One of the other physiotherapists took a video of the swing. And when I got home after the session, I looked at the swing and I thought to myself, that's really not a bad golf swing. Like, it still looks like I could play golf and hit a ball relatively well. So I went home and I posted the video on Twitter, and it was around the time that Phil Mickelson had just won the PGA Championship as a 50-year-old, and it was all this big news about it. And so I
Yeah.
just tweeted, "Hey Phil, if you can win the PGA at 50, a 34-year-old paraplegic can try and get back into golf." And left it there, and that was it. Shortly after that, I checked my phone, and I had more notifications than I've ever had in my lifetime. And it turns out Phil had actually commented on my video saying, "Amazing work, and you have my full support, and keep it up." And from then it
Awesome.
went viral. PGA Tour picked it up and had it posted on their social medias, and it was all over the place. I was doing podcasts and things, and that's how Chilliwack Golf Club actually found me and reached out and said, "We'd love to host you for your first round back." And they invited me out for a free round of golf with a cart, and I went out and played 18 holes, and I actually shot 85
Awesome.
my first round out after my spinal cord injury. And that's when I knew that this was going to be big for me.
Right. And fast forward a little bit. So there are there's events in the area for adaptive
Yes.
golfers. The Vancouver Golf Tour has added an adaptive division to a few of its tournaments. British
Yes.
Columbia Golf just hosted the All Abilities Championship at McCleary Golf Course, which I know you
Yes.
played in. So
Yes.
maybe tell us a bit about the opportunities to play golf for adaptive golfers that are just in the lower mainland right now.
I think the growing opportunities is fantastic. I mean, we still have a long way to go, but now that we're breaking down the doors and having the opportunity to show that, hey, we're still pretty good golfers, a lot of us, and what we can do, it's not about our disability for us, it's about golf. One thing that many of us noticed at the BC All Abilities was that, you know, all of the athletes, we're just talking about the course and the different bumps and different nuances of golf, and no one's asking about each other's disability. It's just we're just happy to be welcome, and everyone knows we're all there for the same reason, and it's for the love of golf and for what it's done for us in our life, and to have that opportunity to showcase. And also it's almost a way for us to say thank you too with having the tournament, because showing up is one way to thank them. And it was just a great turnout for the first inaugural. I know they were hoping for more, but with the VGT growing with adaptive events, and the Canadian All Abilities is actually being for Golf Canada is actually being held in BC this year as well. So it'll give a lot of the BC adaptive golfers an opportunity to compete on a national championship for the first time, hopefully.
And that's coming up in Kelowna? Kamloops.
Kamloops, yeah,
Yeah,
in September.
right. So how does Paragolf Canada play a role in all of this? And what is your role with Paragolf Canada?
So Paragolf Canada reached out to, well, I got connected with Paragolf Canada shortly after all the Twitter explosion, and met with Todd Kierstead, the founder, and he was very helpful in reaching out to the golf courses as well as a CPGA professional, um, to open the communications of like, look, this is really what the situations are for these people. And he had noticed, doing his touring of trick shot shows, when he did a lot of the shows for veterans in the States, that the way he does trick shots is the way that a lot of adaptive golfers end up hitting the golf ball. And that kind of sparked him into there's not enough being done for people, and that's how Paragolf Canada was born. And when he reached out to me and got me back on the golf course, everything really took off, and I've been working with him since. And my role now is a BC program development officer for Paragolf Canada. Um, I work with a group of individuals, of peers across the country to come up with ideas and brainstorm ways to break down the barriers of cost of power carts or cost of green fees, cost of equipment, what places are accessible for specifically for if someone needs a paragolfer machine to play golf, what courses can actually accommodate that,
Right.
you know, and developing databases and lists of players and things so that ourselves and the golf communities can work together to find solutions and continue moving forward with the progress that's being made currently.
And I just heard on a different podcast with Todd that there may be a partnership with Golf Town coming to expose some new adaptive golfers just back to the golf swing.
Yes, well, it's been announced. It's an official partnership now. Golf Town and Paragolf Canada have an official partnership. They are currently working on a few things, adaptive custom clinics. So they're going to, you know, have training workshops that'll be offered in store to current golf professionals, healthcare professionals, and individuals in adaptive situations, you know, to better understand the different nuances of the golf swing and ways to maybe adapt certain disabilities and utilize different tools from different disabilities and mix it all together and come up with new ways and strategies to work together. Another thing is adaptive club fitting because, you know, someone who doesn't have hands cannot grip a club correctly. So we have to work with club companies or fitters and come up with engineered tools or ways to allow someone to swing a golf club freely if they don't have hands. Because I mean, if they want to golf, they should be allowed to golf. And so adaptive club fitting for short stature or say things like that. And also, you know, amputees that need prosthetics, that need attachments to connect to a golf club. So that'll be huge training as well for a lot of the golf town workers. And then they're going to do things like a Paragolf adaptive day, similar to they do the ladies' days and things like Paragolf. So Golf Town will do an event for adaptive golfers specifically to come out, and they'll have a you know a keynote speaker things and little lessons or giveaways and prizes and stuff just to you know welcome people into the store and say, hey, you're welcome here. We want to work with you. We want to help you on your journey, and I think it's going to be great. And another of the four major things that Golf Town is going to help with Paragolf Canada is we want to start a nationwide golf league for adaptive golfers. That gives you a little bit of competition, friendly competition, but there's no pressure to travel to different locations because travel is a huge cost for a lot of it. So, you know, there are adaptive competitions happening, but many of us can't afford to go and have the luxury to go because we don't have sponsorships and things and even though a lot of us could probably compete on a professional level, we're just not getting the exposure that, you know, the able-bodied golfers tend to get.
And then this launch with Golf Town, hopefully will break down some of the barriers of getting on traditional golf courses or having golf pros that have the skills to teach adapted golfers, adding to the lessons at all the other facilities across the province as well.
Absolutely. You know, for lack of a better term, a lot of the barriers is ignorance and lack of education. It's not ignorance in a rude way. No one means to be ignorant to it. It's just many golf courses and golf professionals have never met an adaptive golfer or experienced that world. And so they've only known their world and that's it. And so they teach the same way and whatever. But now with the new diversion and inclusivity of society that's growing and continuing to grow, it's becoming more public that these people are out there and they're really good golfers. You know, over in Europe, they're doing amazing things with the DP World Tour and adaptive golf. They actually have a 10-player professional disabled tour that piggybacks on top of some of the major DP World Tour events.
Right. And that would be the goal for here for Canada too. Yeah.
Oh, that would be incredible. I mean, if you could have the PGA Tour in the States doing something like that, and Canada will just everyone kind of follows suit, right? And so it's just you need the major organizations to start noticing first.
Well,
And
golf
once
is naturally a sport that is is naturally inclusive because of handicaps and the ways that all I can play with my pro friends who all play and have very low handicaps and I don't, but we all have fun together. Um,
Exactly.
so maybe we can talk about how adapted golfers might find out about the events and also what the what is it, EDGP or
EDGA,
the card is,
or
so
EDGA,
that golf
EDGA as
courses
they
can
call it.
recognize adaptive golfers.
Yes, so um, EDGA is the European Disabled Golf Association, and they're a major entity that have basically sorted out how to classify adaptive golfers that want to play competitively, that want to play for world ranking points, and others that just want to get out and have a friendly competition or have the social gathering of a golf tournament, and so um, it's you just apply through their website and as a player, and you have to be a member of a national golf organization to get your pass approved. And then if you want to compete for the world rankings, you have to have a doctor's assessment done to confirm your classification. But once that's done, you have an identification badge and number and everything, and they have a database of all the players in the world that are disabled and what classifications they fall under, and what type of tournaments they are eligible for. Because there's some that count for world ranking points, there's some that just count for net world ranking points, and then they have a Stableford system, which really balances out the inclusivity. And so they're working really hard to find ways to host tournaments, and all over Europe they have many disabled tournaments happening already. And so on the EDGA website they have a list of all the eligible events that count for the points for your world ranking points, and you can go on there and find one, and it takes you right to the application. You can apply and you just hope you get accepted.
And so the Vancouver Golf Tour is using EDGA as the way for people to apply to play in the adaptive golfer divisions of the VGT events.
Yes. And one of the nice things with that is through the VGT, if we can grow those events large enough, we can start applying to be sanctioned events on the EDGA website and getting points for those world rankings that we so desperately need. Because with those points, there's now new international competitions that are happening. Like the U.S. Adaptive Open is having their second annual this year. Their inaugural last year was a hit. They had over, I think, 300 and some odd applicants last year. I have no idea what the numbers were this year, but I imagine they had to have been very large. Um, to the point where they're likely going to have to look into doing qualifiers, if they're only going to have a field of 96. But this is how the points in the world ranking is a big part of how they sort out who is eligible for these major international tournaments.
Right.
And
So the
so,
goal in
yeah,
the Lower Mainland here is just to get enough participation. So I know that there was, I think, 15 golfers at McCleary.
yes.
And I'm not sure how many have registered for the VGT just yet for the Vancouver Open. How can we as golfers, and also maybe the other side, how can the golf industry get the message out that these events are happening?
We need to start advertising, for one, that there is an adaptive division. There was a Vancouver Golf Tour event already, the Surrey Open, that happened in April. And there were only two players in the adaptive division. Unfortunately, the only reason the other player knew about the tournament was because I am a VGT member and I get the emails about the events that are happening. Otherwise, there wasn't really any talk about it prior to the tournament. and there was a little bit of talk about it afterwards with the player that won the category in that and was the first adaptive winner on VGT and things. But I think more can just be done with things like social media and that, and also, you know, you might be an able-bodied golfer and you might know a really good adaptive golfer in a situation that doesn't really know his path, and you can just tell them by word of mouth, hey, you should go out and play this and get involved and get back there. There's lots of different ways, and with the handicapping system, it's a good environment, and it's a really well run tour. And so I think that if we can get the guys out, they'll feel welcome, and they'll feel like there's somewhere where they can actually compete or push themselves to be the best golfers that they want to be.
Right. And hopefully with the Vancouver Golf Tour, and the media release that's going out and the newsletters that will be going out to the public and all of the things that Fraser will be doing through the VGT, that the message will get out that the Vancouver Open will have an adaptive division, and hopefully we can get more than two golfers there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And hopefully we can reach out to different organizations that specialize in adaptive athletes, because there are very wonderful organizations in BC already, such as Sportability and BC Wheelchair Sports and things like that, and Spinal Cord Injury BC. All these organizations specialize on getting people back involved in the community and sport and activity. And if we can partner with one of those groups to, help advertise that adaptive golf is growing and people want to get into it. And, even some adaptive golfers such as myself are looking into getting into professional teaching, to help adaptive golfers feel more comfortable going somewhere, and like opening a school for myself and specializing in adaptive golf training.
Right. Yeah. So in terms of your golf goals for this year and next year, what are you hoping to achieve in the next couple of years for yourself?
So this year was a lot about competition, just pushing myself to get to basically an elite level, or as an elite level as I can. And so I want to see what my capability is on that level, and also it's to maybe hopefully gain some points and be eligible for those international adaptive competitions and be ready for them. Um, so that this year was a lot about, seeing what my actual ceiling is for competition, and seeing if I can actually progress and push for some victories. And then going into next year, I'm thinking of pivoting into doing either, my PGA professional career, and looking into that path of doing my card, and because they do have some new um inclusivity guidelines for the player ability tests that make it a lot easier for players with disabilities to get their professional card. However, it is a long road, and it's not a certain road for many people.
Yeah.
So there's that, or there's also the Canadian Golf Teachers Federation, which is a card that essentially grants you courses and things that you train, and you have to pass, and then you're eligible to start teaching golf lessons for a fee. But when you start doing that, there's a gray area with becoming an amateur and a professional, and things. And
Right.
so once I become a professional, when I compete, I can only compete in like open events and things. And so it's going to be an interesting transition into next season, but I'm on the right path for hoping to inspire and create opportunities for others with disability to maybe follow in my footsteps, or have somewhere to go to train and feel comfortable, and just be a golfer.
Right. Just be out there enjoying the golf course.
Yeah. And
Right.
just not people seeing them as for their disability anymore, because they, as disabled people, we get noticed for the wrong things a lot of time. And so for me, it's been, great to be known for my golf now first, and my ability to golf. And then when you talk about the disability afterwards, it's even more like a great story. So it's definitely one I love to share, but I'm also very modest and understand my situation is not as difficult as many other people's out there, and that's why I know I really need to help give back and try and get as many people out on the course as I can and grow the sport for everyone.
Right. And well, thank you for being here with me today. And I hope we can get this message out on all the social platforms. And we'll do a written interview on the Vancouver Parks Golf newsletter. Hopefully we can get that field filled up for the VGT Vancouver Open.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll do our best. So thank you very much for being with me today.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You as well.